combating nutrition disinformation and general bull. It's Jimmy Rants. JimmyRants.com.
What's up, you guys? Welcome back to another Instagram Live, and we're here yet again with another Jimmy Rants. Welcome in. So if you're brand new to Jimmy Rants, here's how it works, you guys. You can go to JimmyRants.com, but we start off here on Instagram Live, which is why you hear me say, what's up, you guys? Welcome back to another Instagram Live. And I talk to all these people down here that are coming in on my live. And then after that, it's up there for 24 hours on Instagram to watch on replay. Then we pop it over onto YouTube so that you can watch the replay in case you missed the live. And then finally, we have a Jimmy Rants podcast where we take the snippets of the best highlights from my Jimmy Rants. Again, it's all housed at JimmyRants.com. Today's Jimmy Rants topic is one that I've heard again and again and again. In fact, today here on Instagram, I got a message from a nice lady who told me that she's eating a ketogenic diet, that she still has 40 more pounds to lose, and that in order for her to lose that weight, her strategy will be to cut the fat on her keto diet since she still has fat on her body. Okay, so there is this notion out there, and she's not the only one that's ever said this, but there's this notion out there, and it's reinforced by some so-called well-meaning people, that if you have fat on your body, then you do not need to be eating fat in your diet. Okay, so the way it works is, well, if you're not eating fat in your diet, you'll be stoking stored body fat to be burned in your body, and you're getting fat that way, okay? So my immediate question back to people that believe this is, well, what's that look like on a plate? And so if you're telling people cut down on the fat in your diet, because keep in mind, the definition of a ketogenic diet is one that is defined as low in carbohydrate, moderate in protein, and then fat to satiety, okay? So what does it look like on the plate if you remove that fat to satiety and you cut back on fat? Well, number one, you have to eliminate fat, so you're gonna have to turn to lean meats. So what are the lean meats? So chicken breast is a lean meat. The lady that I talked to on Instagram, she said, well, what about like filet mignon, because it's very lean, or a sirloin steak, that's very lean. So my question back to her was, well, do you think you'll feel good that way? Do you think that, are you worried about that being perhaps too much protein? And my biggest concern, when you think you have to cut back fat on your keto diet because you still have fat on your body because you're struggling to lose weight, when you do that, guess what happens? You get hungry. Why do you get hungry? Because all of the satiating effects that come from consuming dietary fat are not being kicked in. So then what happens? You have a hormonal effect that your body thinks it's starving itself. And here's the other thing. Guys, I tested this year. I did a 3-to-1 protein to fat ratio diet where I ate 3 grams of protein for every 1 gram of fat that I consumed. And I was miserable. I don't know if you saw the results of this. I did this on my Friday podcast called the Keto Hacking MD podcast. I did an experiment for a week where I had 3 times the protein that I had fat. So it was a very high protein diet. It leaned out the fat in the diet. It ended up being right around 270 grams of protein and only 90 grams of fat, and then no carbohydrates. We didn't want to confound the variable. And I had 15 bouts of hypoglycemia in 7 days. And I did not feel well. I would eat a meal of, say, 5 or 6 chicken breasts, and I would be hungry an hour later, okay? So I have fat on the body that could ostensibly be tapped into. So this theory of if you want to lose fat on your body, you cut fat in your diet, even on keto, because you want to tap into that, and that will become your fat source. That's not how it works. So here's what happens as well. What about all those fat-soluble vitamins in your body? So the fat-soluble vitamins are vitamins A, D, E, and K. So what happens to those if you're not consuming fat in your diet? That's right, you're not absorbing them. And fat-soluble vitamins play such a vital role in the way that the body operates and the way your hormones are impacted. One of the great things about adding in dietary fat to your diet is you get this calming down in your body of so many processes. I don't really have time here to explain them all. Just know that your hormones are happy when you feed it fat, not when you deprive it of fat. Your brain is happy. You notice how people who don't eat fat tend to be a little more moody? Well, there's a reason for that. Their brain isn't getting the core essential raw elements that it needs to thrive. And so if you're just joining us, we're talking about on this Jimmy Rants episode whether you should cut fat on your keto diet if you have fat on your body, because there is this notion, and people make it sound all logical. Well, you have plenty of fat on your body. What would you need to eat fat in your diet for? And there's a lot of reasons, and we've talked about some of them already. Fat is satiating in the diet. And so here's what happens too. Here's how I like to explain it to people so that they get a little better visual of it all. In order to tap into stored body fat, you have to stoke it. So the way you stoke it is you eat enough fat to satiety in your diet, and that will enable your body to feel calm, and the hormonal effects that are positive will happen, and you'll feel better. So in the midst of all that de-stress, which we have to emphasize this, if you cut fat in your diet, you're going to have a cortisol response. Cortisol raises blood sugar and insulin levels. It's no bueno, right? So you want to consume fat in your diet. Now, hear me loud and hear me clear. That doesn't mean you're gorging yourself on fat. Nobody has ever said to gorge yourself on fat. My message has always been keep carbs limited to your tolerance level, protein to your personal threshold level, and then eat enough fat to feel satiated and happy. So you're not under eating food. But what's happened is there's this meme put out there, especially about me and my philosophy, but really a lot of keto dieters, because people hear high fat. Oh, look at all that fat. You're gorging yourself. So don't listen to that nonsense. If you have fat on your body, one of the best things that you can do is eat a high-fat diet. Again, not gorging yourself, but eating it to satiety. Because when you do that, you calm down all of the hormonal negativity things that are happening. Whereas if you cut the fat because you have this mistaken notion that you need to be doing that on your ketogenic diet, so you eat low carb and higher protein and lower fat, how does that manifest? It ain't good. You're hungry. You're not feeling well. You have hormonal imbalances. Cortisol goes up, which then raises your blood sugar, which then raises your insulin levels. It's a cascade of hormonal effects that you simply don't want. So the next time somebody tells you that, well, you have fat on your body, you should not be eating fat on your plate, you need to tell them where they could go, number one. But number two, tell them, no, you do not want to mess up the hormonal effects that come from getting fat in the diet. All right, let's see what you guys have to say. Welcome in, welcome in. Thanks for being here. Hello, Norway. Thanks for being here. Was getting worried. I missed my Jimmy Rants, LOL. Yeah, I missed one this morning because it's been a busy day, but we are here for you, buddy. Thank you, Robbie, for being here. Hey, Lauren, thanks for being here. Hello, Ashton. All my usual suspects are here. Thank you, guys. I just paused listening to the Keto Connect podcast that you guys did to watch this. Thank you, Alicia. Yeah, we had fun with the Keto Connect guys. They are awesome. Keto Christine, this is a good topic. Thank you. Ashton says, I had a sirloin steak cooked in MCT oil and added in butter, not hungry at all. That was my first meal after 19 hours of intermittent fasting. I'm full and happy. And Ashton, a sirloin steak with MCT oil and butter, that is a perfect keto meal. This person earlier told me just sirloin steak, no added fat at all, and I would be starving if I did that. Keto, Carolus says, I love fat. Who doesn't love fat? Ask the Keto Chow guys. They know. Fat is where it's at. Joshua just finished a 90-hour long-term fast. Felt amazing. Thanks for your podcast. Thank you, Joshua. And I bet you won't skimp on the dietary fat when it's time to eat. Keto My Burrito, what's up, buddy? Thanks for being here. Keto in Pearls, North Carolina. My hormones are the most regulated they've ever been. Thanks to keto, give me all the fat. And you make a great point here that when you've had irregularities in your hormones where they've not been balanced, one of the best ways to balance them after carbohydrate restriction is eating ample amounts of fat so that your body feels nice and calm. Nancy, Virginia Beach, if I'm tempted to eat non-keto, it's almost always because my fats are too low that day. And that's a great point too, that when you lower the fat, you start to bring back, for some people, cravings, you start to bring back hunger, and that opens the door for these temptations to come back with a vengeance. Fat is where it's at. That's right, guys. How does meat cooked in an air fryer, is it good or worse for keto? So, Robert Pardue, thank you, buddy. You're my cousin. I appreciate you. I just got an air fryer, and I got it not because of the low fatness. I notice on the outside of the packaging, they say, oh, we eliminate having to fry and grease. It ain't the fat that's the problem. You want that crispiness. So I use an air fryer to crisp up meat. So if you want to do it for that, I would say add back in maybe some added fat to give you a little more satiety, depending on what meat you're putting in there. But add the fat, because an air fryer doesn't actually add any fat to your diet, to what you're cooking. Bird may be the word, but fat is where it's at. That's cute, Keto Christine. Bird's the word, but fat's where it's at. People think of canola oil as a good fat. Yes, they do, Alberto. And unfortunately, it is not. And that's one you can feel free to cut out of your diet. I'm very happy for you to cut canola oil out of your diet because it's not doing you any good. So if you're just joining us, Jimmy Rants here today. We're talking about this very controversial issue of whether you should cut fat on your ketogenic diet if you have fat on your body. I see this again and again and again within the keto community. People think because you have fat on the body, therefore you should not eat fat on the plate. And so I always want to know, what's that look like? It's got to be chicken breasts and broccoli. Maybe a little bit of butter, like a teaspoon or whatever. But that's what it looks like. So does that sound appetizing to anybody? Now, obviously, if you're doing it as part of like a bodybuilding competition where you're getting cut, that's a whole nother thing. But in the day-to-day of just regulating your health, you gotta have fat in the diet. And again, the definition of a ketogenic diet is low carb, moderate protein, high fat. That is the definition. Anything else, it ain't keto. Okay, you can cut all the fat you want and increase your protein and increase your carbs, whatever you're going to do with the diet, but that ain't keto. Keto's low carb, moderate protein, high fat. And I think terms matter. Words mean things. And if we're going to use the word keto, then you bet we should always adhere to what that definition is. And if you veer from it and you start thinking, oh, I should cut the fat in my diet because that'll help me lose weight and blah, 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 resist the urge, guys. Resist the urge. Katarina says, I just got an air fryer too, and it's broken. Oh, no. Take it back to where you got it, Kat. I want butter, cheese, sour cream on my broccoli. Yeah, exactly, Sam. You've nailed it. That's exactly what you should do, because that's basically the role of vegetables, is to be a conduit for your fat. So if you're eating vegetables and you're not putting any fat on them at all, you might as well just be eating straight up sugar. Okay, maybe it's not that extreme, but I want you to think of it in that term so that you know That is what the vegetables are for, is to help you get more fat in your diet. And so if you're eating more fat, then you're causing all sorts of really positive metabolic health effects downstream. Do that and you'll be a lot healthier. All right, guys, that's it for this Jimmy Rants. JimmyRants.com is the website. As always, we start off on Instagram Live. So go follow me on Instagram at Livin' Low Carb Man, LIVIN And you can follow me there and engage with me down here like all these people did. And then you can watch for 24 hours on the replay there. Then we pop it over onto YouTube where you can look up the past Jimmy Rants episodes. Just type in Jimmy Rants and you'll find at least one of the episodes, and then you can watch them all there. And then we have a Jimmy Rants podcast. So thanks you guys for being here. JimmyRants.com is the website. And until next time, we'll see you then.